the grass is not always greener. Like, you have to know that. Hi, my name is Bree. Welcome to my channel. Oh my god, I don't know why I'm so nervous. This is my first long video. I've uploaded many shorts, but I was like, okay, I need to make a long video, and yeah, I decided to do that. I'm in my car filming. Please bear with me. I wanted to film my house, but my mama is loud, so we're out here. But yeah, so today I wanted to talk about something that might be a little controversial to some people. I don't know how it's going to be received, but I just really felt that it was something that I needed to make a video about and talk to you guys about. And that is leaving LA. So, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about myself. I am from New Jersey. I was raised in Jersey my whole life. I was born in Philadelphia, raised in South Jersey. And even though I always grew up as like a suburban girl, I always wanted to move to a big city. That was always my thing. Like, I knew I was going to get out of this small town. I knew I was going to go away, live in a big city. So yeah, I decided to move to LA. I moved back in June 2024. The year prior, in 2023, I had went out with my mom to LA to visit family. We have family in Orange County. So we just commuted back and forth to LA to do the sightseeing, the tourist attractions, the Hollywood signs, all those things. And that commute is awful, by the way. So, no. If you want to live in LA, live in LA. Don't live in Orange County commute, because that is terrible. Anyway, so we had decided, like, yeah, we're going to move to LA. We're going to make it happen. My manager, he lives out in California because I am an actress, actually. And he told me, if you want this to be your career, like, come out here. So I did. So, actress in LA. Groundbreaking, And it actually worked out perfectly. Like, you would have thought that, like, moving to a new city, like, that would have been a hard process. And while it was, I'm not going to say that it wasn't. It was weirdly, like, everything aligned very well. Like, I was able to get a job. So my first job out there was working at Intuit Dome, the big $1 billion Clippers stadium that they opened. So I started working there, and they had a hiring fair in May. I went out, got the job. My mom and I were looking for apartments out there during that time. Got approved for an apartment. It was smooth sailing. Like, it was actually insane. I was like, God, like, oh my gosh, this is for me. Like, I just knew it was for me because it was just too easy. And so we went out there in June, and things were going well. I was working. I wasn't getting a lot of hours at Intuit Dome, so I started nannying as well. It's something that I'm used to. I have a lot of childcare experience, so I was like, well, let's bring it to LA, And most people who are pursuing an acting career have many jobs, so it was nothing new. And the summer was fine. I didn't really have many issues in the summer, except for just being so expensive, like having to work super hard to pay for rent. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for rent, but it's not worth it. Let's just say that. I went out there, I had 3 jobs. I worked at Intuit Dome, I did a little bit of nannying, and then I worked at Starbucks. I left Intuit Dome because I had too many problems there. Even though it was a great place to connect, I was having too many issues. So I left there, and then I finished nannying too, and then I just transitioned to being a barista at Starbucks. And I was getting a lot of hours at first, and then even those were cut back. It's funny how I named all these jobs I was doing. What's the one thing I didn't name? Being an actress, because I did not do one acting gig in LA. I auditioned. I had casting networks. I was auditioning, self-taping. I was putting myself out there. Nothing. But it actually weirdly worked out because my manager, he's really into radio and media, and he told me, he was like, you should do something in the media. And even before, I was always, what is that squirrel doing? Even before, I was always interested in media. I love seeing the girlies interviewing like the players, the coaches on the side. Like when I would watch like Sixers games or Eagles games with my brother, I always like seeing the girls, and guys do it too, but mainly my eyes are going to the women that did it. And I was like, oh my God, that's like, that could still be in front of the camera. I could still, you know, be in a way like performing, you know? So I was like, that could be a cool job. So I thought about it more and more. And then the more I started getting into sports and understanding sports, I was like, oh my God, I should do this. I should pursue a career in sports reporting. So that's what I started doing. I enrolled in Santa Monica College. This is my second time back in college. I was in college back in New York. I went to NYU, so I was in another big city, and that's for another day, that experience. So I ended up enrolling in college again, journalism. That was my major. And I just started reporting, and I would go to games and I would interview the players, like the soccer players. I would interview the coaches, basketball, volleyball, you name it. I was doing it because I really was like feeling great about this career. And then I was like, I don't have to do this in LA. I don't have to give every single dollar I have to LA to pursue this, especially since there was options to go online and do classes online, because I was doing a lot of stuff online as well. I was like, why don't I just do it online? I can go home, I can save so much money. And at that point, I just wasn't enjoying it LA. At that point, I just wasn't enjoying LA. I just wasn't. It wasn't for me anymore. I didn't like it. So I'm gonna go into my points. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background of kind of where I was at in LA. So I'm gonna like get more into points. The biggest thing, the expenses were just insane. Like I said, I was working so many jobs. I was at Intuit Dome. I was a barista. I was a nanny, but I wasn't an actress, and I didn't do one acting gig. It's insane. So I couldn't afford it. And then things happened with my mom, and I'm not going to get into details of that. But she couldn't afford it either. So we both were in a place where it's like, we can't afford being out here. This isn't working. We have a home in New Jersey. We could make things work back at home. And so and you're not getting your money's worth in LA. Unless you're some big influencer, or you're some athlete, or you're some model or actress that's like really killing the game and doing their thing. I don't think it's really worth it. I was just some regular schmegular person in LA that was barely affording to pay my bills. I really wasn't affording to. So I don't think that living in LA was worth the price. And it's dirty. The city is dirty. It's very unsafe. And there's no disrespect to homeless people, but the homeless population was insane, and some of them do have mental issues. And so even at Starbucks, I was being harassed by people, and they don't care. The police were called, they don't show up. You know what I mean? So all these things were making me feel like, why am I living out here? It's too expensive. I can't afford it. It's not safe. And then the LA fires happened. I could literally from my rooftop see the fire. You could see the fire. That was so scary. It was scary to all of us. And then there was false evacuation alarms being put out. And it was just a lot of anxiety and fear that I can't really explain it. You would have to have seen it yourself to really understand the impact. But it just, more and more things happened. Also, my biggest thing about LA, it just doesn't feel like a real place. I know East Coast and West Coast are two very different vibes, but honestly, living in California, it felt like the Truman Show. That's the best way to describe it, and I'm going to explain it. The reason why I say it feels like the Truman Show is because it's in its own little bubble. And yes, there are season changes. Like, it gets a little cold, it gets a little rainy, like in some places, like up north, I hear it snows. So there are changes, but for the most part, it stays the same. And I did not realize how much that would bother me until I actually lived there. Like, I'm used to in autumn and fall, whatever, like the leaves changing, the crisp, cool air. Like, it's it doesn't feel that way. At least where I live closer to Santa Monica, like where the beach is. I live like between Santa Monica and Culver City. That's where I live, like in between there. And so we came back home actually to visit during the holidays, during Thanksgiving, and just I was just like, it's a breath of fresh air. And New Jersey has its issues too. Jersey has a lot of, it's very expensive too, but being expensive in New Jersey is different than being expensive in California. So, and that's my thing. Being able to come home and split rent between me, my mom, and my brother is different than splitting rent with my mom and I. Way more, thousands of dollars more. Just saying. So yeah, it didn't feel real. Like everyone always talks about mental health. Everyone, like, how are you doing mentally? But it was just like this false sense of empathy. It didn't feel real. Nothing felt like people really cared. Even as much as they said that they did, it didn't feel that way. It just didn't. And even like it was just a spiritual thing about LA that made me feel so uneasy. And I don't know why. Probably my biggest thing is that they can't say Merry Christmas. Working at Starbucks, I understand that people have different religions. I understand. Why we can't just recognize everyone, I don't know. Why we have to eliminate everything and instead of recognizing, I don't know. But my coworker came up to me and she's like, we don't say Merry Christmas, we say Happy Holidays. And I was like, oh. It would just felt really weird to me. Like, I love Christmas. Christmas is so important to me. And being at home in Jersey, like, it's something that we celebrate. It's something like people put their lights out, people go big. And it wasn't like that where I was at in California, in LA. It was not like that. People did not have a whole bunch of lights out. Some people did. Most people didn't. But back where I live, every single door, every single home has lights out. But they went hard for Halloween. This was crazy. They went so hard for Halloween, but not Christmas. And like I said, people have different views. People have different religions. I understand that. But that was just like, that spiritually shook me a little bit. I didn't like that. Around the same time that the election was going on. And if you're American, probably if you're just a human in this world, you probably understood how frustrating this election was. And not even because of the politicians, but because of the people. And I'm not getting into politics because I'm not into politics. It's not what this channel is about. But everyone in California has the same idea, has the same thought process. No one has an original thought. Like, that's the scary thing about it. Like, and I'm from somewhere where everyone has different viewpoints, and I can appreciate that, and we all respect that. But in LA, they went hard for what they believed, and if you didn't believe that, you didn't belong. And they made that very clear. So that made me feel very uneasy, because it's almost like you can't be true to yourself. You can't be who you want to be. If you don't fit that mold, why are you there? That's how it felt, you know? So why did I leave? How did I end up leaving? I ended up having so many issues with my apartment building, and it prided itself in luxury living, very expensive luxury homes with security and all of that. And I kept getting locked out of my apartment. How does that happen? I kept getting locked out of my apartment because we have a key fob instead of a regular key, which I don't understand why we can't just get regular keys these days. We got locked out a few times. I got stuck in my garage because of the electric issues with the fob, whatever. The icing on the cake, my mom and I got locked out after visiting my aunt in Orange County for New Year's. We came back and we got locked out on New Year's Day. We called the emergency number, no one answered. We had to go back to Orange County, an hour away, stay with her another night, and we didn't get any response until the next morning. So we went to my property manager, and he was very like, oh, well, you know, these issues were going on before. He was very like, not dismissive, but he was like, it's not my fault. He was really, what's the word? Deflective. Like, it's not my fault. Like, these issues are going on. But then I guess he saw a look on our face and he was like, well, I understand, you know, because our maintenance man is still out on leave. We don't know when he's coming back. So I understand if you want to break your lease, like, we're not going to charge you for that. So we were able to break our lease. We were able to not have to pay thousands more dollars to to leave. So we were like, we're just gonna go home. There's nothing left. I can do school at home. I can be happy at home. So that's what we decided, and we just left. And my cat, he died. My cat of almost 17 years. He would have been 17 February 3rd. He died January 29th, and that just broke me because my brother had to be here by himself, and my mom was like, we're done. We're going. We're leaving. At that point, I had already put in my 2 weeks notice, my job. So we left, we packed the car, and that's another thing. We packed the car. We drove to LA. Yes, we drove to LA. It took like 4 days, 42 hours in total, but we had to stop because it's crazy to keep going. If you want a video on that as well, let me know. But yeah, we drove to LA, and then we packed our car, threw a lot of stuff out, tried to give away as much as we could as well. And we left, and now we're home. We came back on Sunday, and I just feel like this weight is off my shoulders. I feel so much happier now. I feel so much better being home. I feel like myself. Like, I got my hair done, I got my nails done. Like, I wouldn't get any of that stuff done because I couldn't get my nails done when I worked at Starbucks in California. But I'm just so much happier now, and I can't really explain it. I'm happy to be home with my family. I can grieve with my family. I can go to the places I love to go, my brother, and I'm so close. I'm so family oriented, and I didn't realize that until I left. And so being back, it really feels good, and it just really makes you realize, like, what you think life in other places isn't always better, and it's really important to appreciate what you have, appreciate where you're from. And there's nothing wrong with leaving. There's nothing wrong with discovering new places, new areas. That's what we're supposed to do, especially if you're young. I'm 24. If you're young, you have no kids, you're not married, go explore the world. It's very important to do so because that makes you figure out what you do want, you know? But I do know that I do not ever want to live in LA again. If I had opportunities to work, absolutely, because like I said, I still want to be an actress. I'm pursuing a sports reporting career, so I still have opportunities to go out there and work. But living there, no. And I think life would be different if you had a lot of money. You can live anywhere and you could tolerate anywhere. But for me, I'm just gonna enjoy being back home and being as productive as possible and go to school and do what I have to do. And I'm just so happy to be back. I really am. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments. Like, did you ever live in LA, or are you living there, or are you thinking about moving there? So just let me know what you think below. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.